It was a largely party-line vote in the Senate, Republicans with a slim majority muscling through the confirmation without a single Democrat supporting it. A lone Republican, Senator Susan Collins of Maine, who's in a tough re-election race, joined Democrats in voting no, leaving the final tally at 52 in favour and 48 against. It was the first time a Supreme Court nominee has been confirmed this close to an election, and also the first time a confirmation has occurred without a single vote from the minority party.
I, Amy Coney Barrett, do solemnly swear.
Barrett, immediately feted at a swearing-in ceremony at the White House, becomes the 115th justice to the country's highest court and only the 5th woman to serve there.
It is the job of a judge to resist her policy preferences. It would be a dereliction of duty for her to give in to them. Federal judges don't stand for election. Thus, they have no basis for claiming that their preferences reflect those of the people. This separation of duty from political preference is what makes the judiciary distinct among the 3 branches of government. A judge declares independence not only from Congress and the President, but also from the private beliefs that might otherwise move her.
As a bitter fight between the two parties ensued leading up to the Senate vote that confirmed her, Democrats infuriated after a similar Republican majority refused to consider former President Barack Obama's nominee over 200 days before the election in 2016.
Republicans promised they'd follow their own standard if the situation was reversed. Guess not. Now, the Republican leader claims that the majority's actions today are rooted in some convoluted precedent. The truth is, the precedent is clear and simple. The Senate has never confirmed a Supreme Court justice so close to a presidential election. The Senate has never even confirmed a justice between July and Election Day in a presidential year. I asked the presiding officer to confirm these 2 facts, and both were confirmed by the records of the Senate. There is no precedent, none, for what is going on here.
The Republican leader argued Democrats would have done the same had they controlled both the White House and the Senate in an election year.
Democrats want President Trump to keep repeating that the election will be legitimate regardless of whether he wins. But here in the Senate, the very same people are saying that our vote on Monday will only be valid if they like the outcome. Our republic cannot abide any political faction making illegitimate a sloppy synonym for "we're not happy." Well, of course they're not happy. That doesn't make anything about this illegitimate.
As the Supreme Court now continues to be a central theme in this election.
This is a momentous day for America, for the United States Constitution, and for the fair and impartial rule of law.
Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden tweeting that the rushed and unprecedented confirmation in the middle of an election should be a stark reminder to every American that their vote matters. Sherwin Bryce-Pease, SABC News, New York.
And Sherwin joins us live from New York now. So Sherwin, a high-stakes nomination, Republicans with the majority, and at the end of the day, that's all that really mattered in getting Justice Coney Barrett confirmed.
Yeah, and I think a comparison is useful here, Francis. The difference between, for example, a constitutional court justice in South Africa that serves a 12-year term or up to the age of 70, judicial appointments to the Supreme Court in the United States are lifetime appointments. And so there's a lot of political capital, a lot of debate that happens within the Senate confines. And it was no different in terms of the confirmation process of Amy Coney Barrett. Some of the Democratic senators called the process an illegitimate process and the last gasp of a desperate party, and of course Republicans argued that this was a consequence of winning elections. I spoke earlier to Professor Penelope Andrews, who is a constitutional law professor at New York Law School, and I asked her what she made of this process led by Republicans in the Senate. Watch.
It's been a very disappointing and a very sad process. I've been struck by just the exercise of raw power on the part of the senators, and particularly Senator Lindsey Graham, who made a complete U-turn, and his words about, appointing President Obama's nominee, Merrick Garland, and what he's doing with respect to this justice, it's just, the hypocrisy is astounding. So for me, just watching the process unfold, and as somebody who teaches constitutional law, what we're witnessing is not a legal process with all, from my perspective, all the dignity and the thought and so on. It's political power. It's wanting to grab this particular branch of government and saying, we'll do it come hell or high water. And so I think, it's a sad moment for the country.
Professor Andrews there, referring to Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, Francis. He is the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee that basically conducts the hearings when they interview Supreme Court nominees. This is what Lindsey Graham said in 2016 after Merrick Garland, former President Obama's nominee, was made public. I want you to use my words against me. If there's a Republican president in 2016 and a vacancy occurs in the last year of the first term, you can say Lindsey Graham said, let the next president, whomever that might be, make the next nomination. Of course, that all went out of the window when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died on September 18th.
Sure. So now, Sherwin, the big fear for Democrats are cases that could reach the Supreme Court, including one just a week after the elections that could determine the future of Obamacare. He was so involved, the former president's signature domestic achievement, the Affordable Care Act.
I'll up you one on the Obamacare case in the Supreme Court, Francis. It could be a decision on who wins this election. The Gore versus Bush debacle in 2000 is not a distant memory in the minds of Americans, where the Supreme Court had to decide, in terms of deciding which way the swing state of Florida would go, and in so doing determine who would win that election. And so we're seeing a lot of litigation in the lead up to this election in places like Michigan, Wisconsin, Texas, North Carolina. And what's the commonality there? Those are all swing states. So a lot of litigation going on now. And the concern is that given the aspersions that this president has tried to cast on this election process, that we might very well have some questions and certainly some judicial concerns raised post this election. I also asked Professor Penelope Andrews what she makes of Judge Coney Barrett's judicial philosophy and how that could impact the court. This is what she said.
We have to look at her writings. And I don't think that there's enough. There's a fear, but she may not be as committed to the sort of boilerplate conservative views around same-sex marriage, around race, and so on. So I think it is a fear, but the problem is that until she actually decides on a case, and particularly when Roe v. Wade comes up and those sorts of cases, the same-sex marriage cases, it's difficult. I think it's a justifiable fear. And then, of course, just moving along, if in fact she does, the fears do materialize, and she's a solid conservative judge in the vein of Alito and Thomas and her mentor Scalia, then I think the Democrats will have to consider what they need to do, because the Supreme Court is such an important institution with respect to regulating and balancing these rights.
So determining the election outcome could be one case, healthcare 7 days after the election, voting rights in 2013, Francis, by a 5-4 majority. They invalidated major provisions of the 1965 Voting Rights Act that mandated federal oversight of election laws in states with a discriminatory history. Take environmental policy or LGBTQI rights. Marriage was extended to same-sex couples as recently as 2015. All these could could return through various paths from various states to the Supreme Court. And of course, the Conservative justices now enjoy a 6-3 majority, Francis.
This was an interesting statement, Sherwin. Republican Senate leader Mitch McConnell saying on Fox News last night that Coney Barrett's confirmation will be a political asset to vulnerable Republicans. So you've laid out how this could all affect sort of legal cases after the elections, but how will it play out in the days until the election on November the 3rd?
It's an interesting statement from the Senate Majority Leader, given the fact that Republican senators, for example, Susan Collins of Maine, the one Republican senator that didn't vote for her confirmation, voted with Democrats. She's in a very tough Senate re-election race in Maine because of her vote in 2018 to confirm Justice Brett Kavanaugh, the justice, now an associate justice of the Supreme Court, that had sexual assault allegations presented during those confirmation hearings. And she has taken a knock in her numbers based on that. So it's unclear how this can benefit Republican senators that are today struggling in their re-election bids based on their confirmation votes in the Senate, but also their close ties to President Trump. Remember, at the end of the day, in large parts of this country, this is a referendum on the last 4 years, and it's unclear how this decision so late in the race, over 60 million people have voted in early voting already, Francis. The window is narrowing. How will this confirmation at this late stage in the race really benefit Republicans when so many people have voted already?
All right, thank you for that update, U.S. correspondent Sherwin Bryce-Pease, and he will be with us in the days leading up to this election, so crucial for the people of America, as he said, their record voting numbers already, and we'll follow it day by day.